the landmark hotel in London gleamed in shades of ivory and gold. Its majestic ballroom buzzed with 500 guests, London's elite assembled for my sister Charlotte's wedding to Lord James Petton. For decades, our mother had pursued this very moment, a noble title, a sprawling estate, and access to circles she had long envied. Tonight was the pinnacle of her lifelong ambition. I lingered near the coat check, observing the arriving crowd, MPs, minor royals, business tycoons, all impeccably dressed. Charlotte had gathered everyone of consequence. This was her triumph, and mother intended to bask in it fully. Eleanor, finally. Mother swept toward me in her champagne-colored silk gown, its rustle echoing in the room. She grabbed my arm and steered me behind a marble column. Why are you out here where people can see you? I'm waiting for the ceremony to begin. Then wait somewhere less conspicuous. Her eyes darted toward the entrance, where the Pettons were greeting guests. Keep her away from the important people. She whispered, or rather hissed, to a nearby usher. We don't need anyone questioning the unemployed one. The usher glanced uneasy but nodded. Of course, Mrs. Morrison. I'm not unemployed, Mom. You're between roles. Same difference, she said, smoothing her gown nervously. Charlotte has worked so hard for this match. I won't have you embarrassing us in front of the Pettons. Just stay quiet and invisible. Charlotte emerged in a custom Vera Wang gown, radiant and poised, flanked by 4 bridesmaids from prominent families, all polished to perfection. Is she out of sight? Charlotte asked Mother, not noticing me behind the column. Yes. I told Lady Petton you were traveling for work. Keep it vague. Charlotte finally glimpsed me. Please, don't speak to anyone important. Just smile and stay in the background. They swept away toward the ceremony, leaving me with the mortified usher. The service at St. Margaret's Church was flawless, Churchill's wedding site, steeped in history. Charlotte and James exchanged vows steeped in family pride and tradition. Mother shed practiced, elegant tears. I sat far back, deliberately out of official photos, surrounded by distant relatives and overlooked +1s. My phone buzzed incessantly. 6 missed calls from Downing Street. 8 urgent texts from my senior policy advisor. My stomach sank. I had planned for this day, ensuring no government crises would interfere. The Prime Minister was supposed to be at the G7 summit in Cornwall. I slipped out during the register signing and called back immediately. Eleanor Morrison. Chief Economic Advisor Morrison, thank God. My advisor sounded frantic. The Chinese delegation walked out of the G7 summit. They're threatening to pull from the trade framework unless we respond immediately. The PM is returning to London and needs your analysis tonight. I'm at my sister's wedding. My materials are at the office. He's coming to the landmark hotel. He saw your calendar and realized you're at a family event in the same venue. My face went pale. He's coming, here? Yes. The Chinese deadline is midnight. 2 years of negotiations could collapse. Also, security noted your name on the seating chart. The PM was not pleased. What do you mean, name placement? You. We were assigned to table 23, tucked near the service entrance, obscured behind a decorative screen. Naturally, that was where I ended up. By the time I returned, the reception was in full swing. The ballroom dazzled, sparkling crystal chandeliers, towering floral arrangements of white orchids, and a 20-piece orchestra filling the air with elegant music. Charlotte and James presided at the head table on a raised platform, flanked by London's social elite. I slipped into my hidden seat at table 23, barely able to see the festivities, though the sounds reached me clearly. My table companions were Charlotte's old university friends, charming but long since faded from social prominence. Are you family? One woman asked, peering at my place card. I'm the bride's sister, I replied. Oh. She exchanged subtle glances with the others. I didn't realize Charlotte had a sister. She never mentions you. The toasts began. Lord Peton's father spoke of heritage and the value of prudent marriages. Charlotte's best friend praised her elegance and social finesse. Then my mother rose. "I am so proud of Charlotte," she announced, voice carrying across the room. "She has accomplished everything a mother could dream of. She chose wisely, pursued the right goals, and today joins one of England's finest families." A pause. I knew what was coming. "Not all children give equal pride," she continued, eyes deliberately avoiding me behind the screen. "But Charlotte has always understood what truly matters. She has never been a disappointment." The implication was clear. Half the room glanced toward table 23, where the disappointing daughter had been tucked away. That's when the room changed. Security arrived first, plainclothes officers assessing, coordinating, the unmistakable presence that always precedes a head of government. Then Prime Minister David Harrison entered, flanked by his private secretary and senior cabinet members. The orchestra faltered. Conversations halted. Every guest turned. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom had just arrived, at a wedding reception. His gaze swept the room and landed on the decorative screen concealing table 23. His professional composure cracked into visible irritation. "Eleanor." He strode directly to my hidden table, bypassing the head table, Charlotte and James frozen in place, and every prominent guest. He reached the area where the unemployed disappointment was seated. "Prime Minister Harrison, don't apologize. I need the Chinese trade analysis right now." He glanced from table 23 to the elaborate head table, then back at me. "Why are you seated here?" "Family seating arrangements, Prime Minister." "Family arrangements." He addressed the entire ballroom, voice clear, commanding, impossible to ignore. "Good evening, everyone. I apologize for interrupting, but we face an urgent economic situation that requires the immediate expertise of Eleanor Morrison." A hush fell. "For those unaware," he continued, eyes on my mother, "Eleanor Morrison is my chief economic advisor. She has guided every major economic policy for the past 4 years. She designed the post-pandemic recovery framework that saved 3 million jobs, negotiated trade agreements generating £40 billion in revenue, and last month averted a catastrophic economic dispute with the EU that could have cost us hundreds of billions." My mother's face went ashen. "Currently, Eleanor is coordinating trade negotiations with 12 nations simultaneously. The Chinese delegation specifically requested her at the G7 summit because she is the only advisor they trust to understand their economic priorities. And you," he said, locking eyes with my mother, chose to hide her behind a decorative screen at table 23. Charlotte's face drained of color, and I felt a quiet, victorious satisfaction. Lord Peton's father rose, his expression a mix of shock and calculation. Prime Minister Harrison turned toward me. "Eleanor, I need the trade framework analysis immediately. The Chinese delegation is threatening to pull out, and you're the only person who can salvage this. We'll use the hotel's conference room." "Of course, Prime Minister," I replied. He glanced at my mother. "When you return, if you choose to return, you will be seated at the head table. My chief economic advisor does not sit behind screens. Ever." As we walked, his security formed a protective corridor. Whispers erupted around us, phones came out, people Googled my name, my mother's voice pitched with panic as she tried to explain something to Lady Peton. In the hotel's executive suite, we spent 90 intense minutes coordinating an emergency response. The Chinese concerns were intricate but manageable with the right concessions. I walked the Prime Minister through 3 scenarios, ran the numbers, and drafted a solution that preserved the trade framework. "This is exceptional work, Eleanor," he said, scanning my recommendations. "The Chinese will accept this. You've just saved 2 years of negotiations and potentially hundreds of billions in trade. Thank you, Prime Minister." He closed his folder, eyes serious. "How long has your family treated you like this?" "Most of my life. They know I work for the government, but never asked details. They assumed I was unemployed because I'm not married into aristocracy like Charlotte. Your mother called you unemployed in front of guests, he said. And has been saying you're between positions for a year. He shook his head. I've negotiated with hostile foreign governments who treated junior staff with more respect than your family ever shows you. He straightened. You don't have to go back to that reception. I thought of Charlotte's flawless wedding, of hiding behind screens, of years of being labeled the disappointment. No, I said. I don't think I will. By the time I reached my car, my phone had 73 notifications, frantic apologies from my mother, panicked calls from Charlotte claiming ignorance, even Lord Peton's father somehow requesting economic consulting. I deleted them all and drove to Westminster, where real work waited. By 11 p.m., the Chinese delegation had responded. They accepted our framework with minor adjustments. Crisis averted. A text from the Prime Minister arrived. Well done, Eleanor. Take tomorrow off. You've earned it. Also, your family are idiots. I've promoted advisors far less competent than you in your worst week. By morning, the story hit the news. Prime Minister crashes wedding to retrieve economic advisor hidden by family. Photos captured the decorative screen at table 23, my mother's toast about disappointment, and the moment the Prime Minister called out my family in front of 500 guests. Charlotte's perfect society wedding became infamous, the event where a family tried to hide the UK's chief economic advisor behind a screen, assuming she was unemployed. Mother's social climb turned into a spectacular fall. Lady Peton, it turned out, had strong opinions about families who failed to recognize their own daughter's accomplishments. 2 weeks later, Charlotte sent a handwritten note. She apologized, saying she hadn't understood and asking if we could rebuild our relationship. I filed it without a reply. Some relationships don't survive that level of dismissal. Some families only value you after powerful people validate your worth. Mine had hidden me behind screens and called me unemployed while I was literally preventing a national economic crisis. Table 23 had been their final judgment. The Prime Minister's arrival was the universe's response. I didn't need their approval. I had shaped economic policy affecting millions, earned the respect of world leaders, and built a career that mattered. That was enough.